Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 172 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So people, welcome back to the show. Welcome to episode 172. And on today's show, we've got returning guests Dawn Lester and David Parker, authors of the book, What Really Makes You Ill, Why Everything You Thought You Knew About Disease Is Wrong. We've got them back on the show because our first episode with them, people loved it. If you haven't listened to it, I'd suggest you go back and take a listen. And there was so much to cover, we had lots of questions coming in. People was wanting to ask more questions, and seeing as their books are 800 pages long, we didn't get to everything on the first show. And so I wanted to get them back on to cover the bits that we didn't. So on this part of the show, we're going to be talking about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, why what you've been told about antibodies and immunity isn't true, why modern medicine can't cure the common cold, why there's no such thing as a sexually transmitted disease, and the myth around smallpox, and much more. So we've got a lot to cover, and I think this book's so long, we'll probably be getting back for the third show, but I'm really looking forward to getting into this episode and giving you all the information that you want. As always, the episode is sponsored by www.reviveyourself.co, and on there you can find our shop, which has got the best natural health products on the market by none. We've got products from Evolution Organics. With them, we've got one of the products I always talk about, which is Living Fuel, the best all-round product on the market bar none. We've got liver supports and milk thistles to keep your liver, the battery of life, working. Mushroom products from Four Sigmatic, they're fantastic. You can add them into your morning teas. They're immune boosting, nootropic as well, so very, very good for brain health. And all the soaps, clean soaps from Dr. Bronner's, and shampoos and deodorants. We move down to Ancient Purity. Got fantastic products there when it comes to gut health and healing and sealing your gut. And also got some fantastic products when it comes to your skin as well, with the oxygenated olive oil, which is a stalwart product I really enjoy. Ancient Purity, I always talk about pearl powder, great for internal health, and also topically on your skin, getting rid of any blemishes. Royal jelly, it's what Bruce Lee used to drink in his tea. Me and Tom Rush talking about that and making maybe a product where we combine a few teas with that. But yeah, it's full of amino acids, once again immune boosting, great for immune function and getting the body all the nutrients it needs. Also in winter months, got the vitamin C and vitamin D products on Ancient Purity that I'd highly recommend. Vitamin C is liposomal. They've also got a vitamin D3, which is liposomal, which means it gets absorbed in the mouth and in higher amounts. Other products we've got there, I'm just having to think. Also the Volvic minerals, great to have in your morning tonic. Then we go down to biooptimizers, which have got the best probiotics, max enzymes, HLC on the planet right now, from my main man Wade Lightheart. They're extremely good products. I recommend them if you're dealing with digestive issues. You need to get to the root cause of the problem, but these will definitely give you relief if you're looking to increase your hydrochloric acid, your digestive fires, and also the probiotics they've got there. They've got a formula which is second to none, so it's actually the best formula at helping digest proteins on the planet. And we've also got a product called Gluten Guardian. So if you're ever out and you're having a beer, or you want to have some nice rolls or some pasta, take a couple of Gluten Guardian products with you, and they help break down the gluten molecules in your food, so you don't get any problems if you're actually gluten intolerant, or if gluten just gives you an issue, which it does for most people even without knowing it. So those products on the market. Then we've got obviously the Memon products, which are the EMF blocking products. from a company that I found this year, which are phenomenal for anyone who wants to mitigate their exposure to EMF on their body, in their car, or in their house. The Combi builds a force field around your house, which you can plug into the wall, and it uses the house's electrical mains to build that force field, which is really important in today's world, where they're actually trying to, there's so many invisible frequencies going around, and they're turning up the 5G, so it's really important. Products from Memon. I was talking to Dr. Klinghardt, and he talks about the only people he knows that can fully heal are the ones that can safely mitigate themselves from EMF, so it's really important. Then we've got our products from Essential Oil Wizardry. My friend Dr. Nick Berry, the best essential oils on the planet bar none. If you're going to use that site, put in the code REVIVE and you're going to get 10% off. And look, a lot of people, women, all the time using fragrances that are extremely toxic to their body, cancer causing, hormone disrupting, and you just don't need them. Whereas if you use essential oils, it's not only going to smell fantastic, but they're healthy for the body, they're immune boosting. So I would be using essential oils from Dr. Nick Berry. And also, if you head over to our friend Andy Mamp's website at blueblocks.com, BLUBLOX.com, for the best blue blocking glasses on the planet. You've got you also got the clear glasses you can wear in the day if you're looking at the screen, but in the evening you've got the red blocking glasses, the red lenses, I should say, the blue blocking glasses, red lenses, and you've also got the yellow ones as well that are great for around sunset or dawn or dusk and dawn. And once again, put in the code REVIVE, you're going to get 10% off there. So we've got everything lined up in the shop. We're going to be getting more products on the market. Tom's actually just sent me over some stuff that I'm going to be trying in terms of some creams and moisturizers, and a few other things that we've got up our sleeve that could be coming soon, which we'll be looking into. Heading over to www.reviveyourself.co to get the best in natural health on the planet, and when it comes to supplements. So that's it for the intro. So without further ado, here are Dawn, Lester and David Parker. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side.
All good stuff, and obviously we want to slow down for Christmas at least and get a break, so I assume you're going to try and do that too.
I don't really know about what the word break means, to be honest with you. There's too much to do, there's too much bullshit to sift through, tell people what's going on. So we know. Yeah. So have you been doing lots of interviews? Been getting about?
We have, yeah. Most of them we put up on our site. Most of them, not all of them, but we try to keep it to 2 or 3 a week ish, that sort of thing, and to try and do our other work as well. Which is to put together another book, and
keep researching
and keep the research going on the medical stuff, and to try and inform people as much as we can, just how much of a lie this is that's been perpetrated on the whole world, Can I just ask, I can see you recording, but are you, for the public, as it were, just recording audio for the public? If you wanted to record video as well, I can put some extra light on so you get a better image. You're okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's just so we just for the podcast. I'm going to start doing it, but we just have like a thing that goes across. It's like an image, and then we just play the recording. But that's. I mean, I'm not surprised that you're busy with what your book goes into. I mean, the book that we talked about before, and also want to go into today in different aspects of the book. But what is the new book you're writing?
Well,
we haven't quite got a sort of title. We're trying to put together, because there are so many lies. We're just looking at all the different things that we could.
That's a good name for it. So many lies.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at all sorts of things like that. But it's that kind of thing.
It's more of a sort of global politics type book, really, that we're working on. We've got a working title, but obviously it's all sort of fairly keeping it to ourselves at the moment. But
it does change. We have a few different ideas at different times. So like you say, kind of come up with different ideas. But yes, I mean, I think we've pretty covered the health part of it. So there's so many other areas that is wrong.
But it's all related. I mean, I know there people have written about the sort of global politics side in various aspects before, but we've got some other insights. I mean, Dawn and I don't just look and research the medical system. I mean, obviously we spent a long time doing that, but during our research, and over the years, we've been around a long time. We've researched many other subjects, not least of which, I mean, I think we mentioned it last time, not least of which is the nature of reality itself, which was our very first little book, which we wrote under our pen name at the time, which was NOR. So there's a couple of books out there which are under that pen name, but now we only write under our proper names. So the next book will be under our proper name as well.
No, I look forward to reading it. I actually want to read that one as well, actually, about reality, because I think that'd be a great discussion to go through things. Because as you said, there are so many lies, and when you actually start to go down this particular rabbit hole, you understand that most of what they've said, or what we get told, is a lie, and it just it just snowballs, and people are like, well, why would they do this? It's like, well, a lot of it's inverted. There's like rituals a part of it, as well as they can get you to believe these things, and it fills into the other gaps. It just like perpetuates
absolutely, like you say, kind of mind control, propaganda, whatever techniques to get people to believe what they're saying. All this authority, it's just there's so much of it. So at the moment it's almost like, oh no, we don't want to do another 800-page book. We're trying to see if we can do things that make it a little bit more, should we say, concise. But we
often say to people, as we found out, there's nothing of any importance that we're not lied to about by the mainstream. Nothing of any importance at all. You can put your finger on anything, whether it's banking, politics, moon landings, 9/11. It doesn't matter where you look.
Have you gone into, and this is one that you're not allowed to by law actually discuss? Have you looked into the Holocaust?
Yes. That too. Yeah.
There's a great documentary out there. I've mentioned it to my audience a few times. The Greatest Story Never Told. It's a great documentary out there. Have you ever gone into that?
I know of it. Yes. There's also another. It's a series of about 7 or something called Europa. But this is the problem, that there's lots of other information, lots of things to research and investigate, and then you get to a point where you go, well, there's only so much other stuff we can do, where we want to kind of focus on this at the moment and get that information out. So it's a balancing act. So
I mean, one of the, Don and I were talking, one of the things that is linked to, we are involved in it to some extent, but one of the things that's linked to what we expose about the lie of the medical system and what the government's using to lock the world down is, of course, the restoration of common law, which you may have had something to do with, which the law of the land, which is our constitution, which also applies to most of the rest of Europe, Australia, USA, Canada, all of their constitutions are based on the Magna Carta of 1215. And those laws are in place and always have been, and they're being overridden illegally by subsequent governments, including this one, who are acting illegally. And, there are groups that are trying to bring back the restoration of the common law of the land, which would make life much better, and it would stop all this nonsense overnight.
No, I've gone into that with quite a few of my other guests, and I mean, the lies are complex, right? The truth is pretty simple, and when it comes to the common law, it's like, I think there's 2 laws. One's like do no harm to your neighbour, the other one's like respect God and the Creator. And when it comes to statutes, there's like millions, especially like the UK, US, Australia, and you can't know them all.
Well, none of them are legal.
Yeah, none of them are legal. I mean, but it's impossible to know them all. It's one of the axioms of law as well. It's like, and one of them is like, you should know them by their acts and actions as well, which is like the government, because they just lie all the time. That's what they do. And the problem is, it's like I know people that have gone into the common law and used it and gone all the way to like High Court, Supreme Court, and the judge has said to them, you're right, but I can't let you win because it's going to set a dangerous precedent. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because
well, the judges are a problem because, as we point out, in common law they are illegal entities because they're paid lackeys of the government. So they're not impartial. They're paid by the government to uphold their illegal statutes. So
they're not appointed by the people.
They're not appointed by the people.
They ought to be for common, proper juries. So yeah, there's all of that. I know. Yeah.
So we need to break through and get one or two honest lawyers and one or two honest judges to let these cases go through and to recognise the true law of the land. We only need to do it once, and just to get that breakthrough. And there's several people are trying this.
Yeah, is it Michael
Obanisian?
Yeah.
And we've had dealings with him, and he's trying a particular stance, which, from what we know, having chatted with him, stands a very good chance, because we're hoping it's going to happen this month, because they're looking to issue an arrest warrant for Matt Hancock.
That would be delightful.
For fraud. Wouldn't that be?
What a lovely Christmas present.
I was going to say, what a lovely Christmas present that would be.
Yeah.
So we're hoping
the first domino.
We're hoping that will happen. The lawyers that are working for him, see no problem. They know that everything that's been done is legal, and that Matt Hancock has committed fraud by not informing the government, the cabinet, that the government scientists had already downgraded the we know it's not there anyway, but they downgraded it to a safe level anyway, and he never informed the cabinet about it, and so that's fraud, and that's what they're going for him on, because he never told the cabinet, and therefore if he'd have told the cabinet, they wouldn't have gone into lockdown knowing that the scientists had already downgraded it.
It was on their government website, so it just I think it was in March or April, they put it on the government website saying it's not contagious. And
that's the idea. Yeah, no, they did. I think it was on the 19th of March, and it was in like the 23rd. They put us in lockdown. So completely.
Yeah.
Back to front, because it was downgraded, and then they put us into lockdown because it was supposed to be dangerous, which is rubbish.
I mean, and just everything else they're doing, like in terms of just blocking, deleting, deplatforming anyone that comes up against it. Even the people you've got even doctors like Dr. Michael Yeadon, who he's not in the natural health field. He's a former vice president of Pfizer, who even though I don't agree with his stance on anything he's saying, he's coming out and saying, this is complete nonsense. So is Dr. Hodgkinson, he's got financially wrapped up in the PCR test. Lots of them. He's talking about that the German went to the German government. They said they can't prove that coronavirus exists. So does the Canadian government. And so it's just and then they're coming out with this new strain of coronavirus bullshit. So can you just stop with the nonsense for 1 minute? And unfortunately, more people are coming awake and are fed up with all this right now, but there's still a lot of people, because all they do is watch the news, unfortunately very, very asleep still, and it's just
very afraid still.
Very afraid. But if you watch the news, if you didn't know about these people, and you've been researching this a long time, I've been in this world a long time, we all knew this was coming. We didn't know when, and we didn't know how quick they'd be able to do it, because you think people would rise up, but when people were scared, they're not thinking clearly, are they? They're just thinking, how do I survive? And then you got all these people walking around with masks, and then they get what they did in the Gulag, the Russian Communist Party, where they'd make the people police themselves, and then that's and then all the Facebook and everything like that. You either speak your truth and you get shut down, or you don't speak your truth, which would mean you've been shut down anyway. And the fact checkers and all these things that are going on, they all need to be taken to court, because free speech is basically gone. They're changing the laws on certain things, and so if he can get Matt Hancock, all of them need to go.
Oh, yes.
The only person who's in Parliament seems to be talking any sense is it Swain? I can't remember his name. Do you know him? He's
no.
I think it's Dennis Swain, but he's quite a character, very charismatic. He's like silver hair, glasses, always looks sharp, and he's talking about how we're letting it come to this, where our police are asking for people's addresses, and they're and people and like the people are being, all their freedoms are going. Basically, he's up there talking about what things we're talking about. I think his name's Dennis Swain.
Is he a Conservative or a Labour, or?
I think he's Conservative.
Interesting.
We'll look him up.
Yeah, he's really just. I tweeted one of his videos like recently where he's up there talking. I'll get his name so you can look into him. But he's, every time he comes up, but he's really going to get his point across really well. He's extremely charismatic as well. I was like, yeah, more of him, please. We'll have some more of him.
Yeah.
He's talking like, I can't believe all this is going on, but he's sort of like one voice in there, obviously in Parliament. Can't remember where it's getting out. I post so much, scrolling through trying to find it for you. But yeah, his surname is Swain. It shouldn't be too long. But he's been saying, Desmond Swain.
Desmond Swain.
Yeah, he said the government would set the seal on its reputation as the most authoritarian since the Commonwealth of the 1650s. Should they basically mandate this vaccination? But it's nothing. But it's nothing as the enthusiasm of Labour for even more coercive and restrictive measures. So yeah, he's Conservative, but he's talking about how the hell he's like, how all the restrictions just don't make sense. How, he said like vaccination. He's talking about like for something that's got 99.98% survival rate. Even though we know it's complete nonsense.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to see him up there talking.
Well, that's good. Because again, it's one, so it's at least one MP saying something sensible.
Right, and because he's so charismatic, it does actually go, like it does actually get out there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, well that's good. That's a little bit of optimism there. So it's the proverbial crack in the dam, isn't it? The more cracks that we can get in this dam, it's going to burst, and that's really what we're looking to do in various ways that we and various people that we're involved with, trying to get this dam to crack open and then get the laws of the land back in force, and then we can all be a lot better off.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that we've got as well is that so many people are bought into this that it's going to be, I mean, even with the vaccine that they've got coming out, right? Like Pfizer, the most trustworthy company you can have. You've got to say that, because otherwise it's misinformation. I actually did a video on this the other day, going through all their scandals and what they've been fined for, and for bribery, for falsifying science, for making false claims on their products, for killing hundreds of thousands of people, for bribing government officials. And this is the company that we're meant to trust with a vaccine, and it's just madness. And so, it's have you been approached by anyone in the mainstream media to do an interview, guys?
No.
They wouldn't touch us. Well, to be honest, I mean, we've been asked about this, and we've said, well, to be honest, if the BBC or mainstream media did approach us, we'd refuse to have anything to do with them, because that it's going to be a hatchet job. They're not going to treat you correctly, and they're going to edit and cut and distort whatever you say anyway to try and make you out to look like you're some sort of nutcase. We wouldn't have anything to do with them.
There's already a hit piece article about our book anyway on some science-based medicine website thing, whatever. I mean, that's been out there for a few months. So yeah. Well, that's what it's called, science-based. Anyway, as if because they call themselves science-based, then that means it is. But no, I mean,
well, they haven't been able to.
I've not read it. We've been told about it.
They haven't been able to prove anything we say to be wrong. And that's what we say to them. Well, if you disagree, just show us the evidence to prove what you're saying. But of course, they never do.
Oh no, we don't do anything like evidence-based. We just do like destroying your character, defamation of your character. That's what they want to do. They won't talk about anything that you actually brought up in your book, which we want to go into, because we want to get into other things. It's interesting you said about the other things you're going into as well, guys, because there's so many things. And it just gets people to understand, like, because when people start to understand how much nonsense we've been told, it can start to sit back and think, oh, okay. It's a bit of like the Matrix thing, where he goes like, you can take the red pill or the blue pill. If you take the red one, I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole goes and what's going on. And even with the films that they brought out in the last years, and they've seen that new program on Netflix called Songbird. Have you seen that?
No, don't do that.
No,
I don't. I mean, I don't watch anything like that. But if I get sent these things saying look at the programming, like where it's basically about what's happening and and the military are all on the roads, and they basically, if you get caught with the virus, people come to your house and they will execute you, and it's
Wow.
oh yeah, like dystopia.
Charming.
Yeah, and so it's called
We thought
Songbird.
1984 was bad.
1984, yeah, and all of them, like Blade Runner, Solvent Green. I mean, there's loads of them, and they're trying to do it. And then, they're doing the middle class right now. They keep trying to wipe out the middle class with another restriction. I'm just like, it just shows us the sad state of affairs that our country's in, where there's not that many people, especially men, that are saying no to this. I mean, I know you are, David, and there's most people I talk to on my podcast are, but few and far between. We're just like, no, like, not wearing a mask, not playing up the bullshit. It's complete and utter nonsense. And all the people I know that own businesses, at what point do you just say no? Like, I'm not shutting, because everyone's still alive. And it's like, this is the thing I'm trying to get to people. It's like, not like if there was a deadly virus, quote unquote, out there, we wouldn't be sitting here saying all this. We'd be like, yeah, cool, let's make sure everything's taken care of. But you have to look outside your front door to realise what's been going on, and so this is why I wanted to get you back on to talk a bit more about the book. We're going to go into it. I can see us having like a few different chats, guys, because I think we're going into some good stuff. But what I wanted to get you back on for today was to talk about just different things we didn't touch on last time, like the syphilis experiment, antibodies, because we did actually go a bit into antibodies, but we didn't go into why what you think is and antibodies and like the immunity they're meant to give, and what you actually found out about antibodies, the common cold and sexually transmitted diseases, etc. And so just so people can understand, how the medical industry is all like built on a pack of cards, really, that could be fall down. When these things got put into public eye or got trialed, like, for example, the syphilis experiment. What did you find when you went into that? For example, because you got some people out there want to read it yourself. Dawn and David are going to be obviously give us some great good details here. But if you go to their website, whatreallymakesusill.com, they got some fantastic articles you can read it yourself. But just for the people out there, guys, what did you find when you went into that?
We've actually got a section in the book about syphilis, and showing that it's that there's absolutely no evidence that it's caused by the bacterium it's supposed to be caused by, and the problems with the test that was being used at the time. And we noticed actually there were some parallels with the whole HIV/AIDS thing as well, but it's quite clear that the supposed bacterium could be found in people that didn't have disease, and there's certainly no evidence for any bacterium to be the cause of any disease. Now, in the book, we didn't really talk about the Tuskegee experiment, but somebody contacted us and asked us about that, and so we thought, well, okay, we'll have a look into it, because the premise is that these men, that there were a number of men that were said to have syphilis, and they did an experiment where there were some that had supposedly had syphilis and others that didn't, and it was an opportunity to see what happened if they were untreated. But the point is that's the problem, that the criticism, shall we say, the main criticism is that these poor men were left untreated, and because they were all African American, then it's regarded as pretty much a racist problem. There were racist attitudes behind it all, and it was a way of it was a sort of a certain way of treating them all, because they weren't given the appropriate drugs. Now, because our research had shown us that there's no such thing as, the disease called syphilis caused by a bacterium, we thought, well, what actually was going on? We discovered a book that gave us more detail about the experiments and what was going behind it, that gave us a lot of clues about why the men would have been tested positive in this so-called syphilis test. Again, like the HIV test. I mean, there are lots of conditions that can show a positive test result. But what we found was that the men were all ill. It wasn't that, some were healthy and some weren't healthy. And what happened was that they were, all their lives, first of all, they were poor. They were sharecroppers. They worked in cotton fields. And one of the interesting points we found was that the cotton was treated with toxic insecticides. So, and arsenic based, so, pretty toxic. That was in the 20s and 30s. And then, lo and behold, in the 1940s, DDT came along. And so they were spraying cotton crops with this. So they were exposed to pretty nasty toxic materials, toxic chemicals. They were pretty poor, so they had a pretty poor diet. Their living conditions were fairly basic, and so
quite insanitary. They didn't have clean water or anything like that. So it was very, very, very primitive living conditions, and very, very poor nutrition, and being subjected to constantly every day to these very toxic materials, as Donna said, arsenic based, and DDT, which is a neurotoxin. So it's hardly surprising that these poor guys were ill all the time. In fact, the experiments they did were on, I think, 400 people, 500 people.
No, 600.
600
yeah,
people.
I think it was about 290 and something like that, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was about 400 and 200. So 400 that were supposedly ill. But I mean, to be honest, they were all unhealthy. I mean, none of them were, actually healthy people, healthy because of their living conditions. But the other thing is that we discovered was the general theory is that they weren't treated. They were left untreated. But in fact, at the very beginning, all the men had some treatment. Unfortunately, the treatment was extremely toxic as well, because they were arsenic-based compounds, neoarsphenimin, I think, if that's the right pronunciation, and together with mercury pills. So in fact, by not being treated or not being given the full treatment, they were actually saved from being poisoned even more so. So, it sounds like we're being mean. We're not. We're just sort of exposing the facts. But that's the problem with the medical establishment. They're looking at the completely wrong things when they're looking at illness. That they completely misunderstand everything about the human body, illness, health.
Well, yeah, so because as you've put, like you said, the view of syphilis that prevailed in 1932 persists into present day and can be summarised as follows. Syphilis is caused by a bacterium called Pneumonia pallidum. I'm probably bastardizing that, which was discovered in 1905. The disease is either let's say contagious or it's transmitted sexually. There are three stages of the disease. Tests can be used to diagnose the disease, and treatments are available to cure the disease. But on the Mayo Clinic, for example, it says that the primary stage involves small sores or ulcers that usually clear on their own, but the sores appear at the spot where the bacteria entered the body. And then it says that problems may occur many years after the original infection if it's untreated, and blood tests can confirm the presence of antibodies. But this whole thing that the sore appears at the spot where the bacteria entered the body, I mean, just with people out there, what would you say to people who say, well, it's quite clear, that's what happens, that the disease or the symptoms appear where the bacteria entered the body? What would you say to counter that?
Well, we'd say, well, you'd have to prove that either a bacteria or for any disease, what it is that's actually caused it, which has never been done, of course. So to say that just because a sore or sores appear, let's say, in the genital area, therefore they're assuming that that's caused by a bacterium, in this case, entering around that area. All of this is a fallacy, and none of it has been proved scientifically. These are just assumptions that the medical establishment have made, as they do about many other diseases. And if there are any skin eruptions, they again see that as proof, particularly if those skin eruptions are in the genital area. They just see that as proof as this is a sexually transmitted disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for herpes or any STDs, which we can talk more about.
Yeah.
But there's no proof of any of it. It's assumptions. And what they have failed to realize is that when the body is full of toxins, then it's got to get rid of those toxins. And the normal methods are through excrement and through urine, through sweating, through coughing, spitting, various sort of congestion. But it also uses the skin, which is the largest organ of the body. Mm-hmm. So it will push toxins out through the skin. Mm-hmm. And this is what you see as these blisters and sores and rashes, which the medical establishment then interpret as, depending on where they appear, they'll interpret them as different diseases, So if they happen to come out in the genital area, then they call them sexually transmitted. If they came out, say, on the arms and legs or the trunk of the body, they may say that they're chickenpox or smallpox or something like that. But there is no proof for any of this because they're misunderstanding what the body's doing. It's merely getting rid of toxins in the quickest and simplest way that it can. So
I just cut out a bit last bit there, David. Yeah. You just said the body is, to summarise what you're saying, it's getting rid of toxins. That's why the skin eruptions come out, correct?
Yes, correct.
But at the same time, what they do is they find, or they might find, bacteria in the.
It's annoying, guys. It just seems to have just
bacteria there.
I think I've got. I don't know why. Is your signal good? It seems fine now. Unless someone was ringing a bit there. Sorry, Dawn. Go ahead. You said what they do. They find bacteria.
Yeah. So I mean, just because they find bacteria in the tissue samples that they take, it doesn't mean that the bacteria are the cause. I mean, that's an assumption, and it has never been proven. So the idea that bacteria enter the body is just an assumption. It's not been proven because bacteria are in the body all the time. And as I think we probably discussed before, one of their roles is actually to break down and help eliminate toxic substances. Mm. So it's not surprising they'll be found at the site of diseased tissue where they've got, lots of dead and dying cells, because that's part of their actual function is to get rid of that sort of, dead and dying organic matter out of the body. So that's why they'll be found there. But it doesn't mean they're the cause. And in fact, they're certainly not the cause.
I mean, the body's going to have billions, trillions of bacteria all over anyway. So
yes.
It's just madness for them to think that, it's like taking a sample of a particular area and thinking like, I know that, even of the world, and thinking that problem is there because of this small sample. It's like, that's not the case. There's a lot of things going on. So just for people to break it down, when it comes to syphilis, once again, it wasn't anything to do with or just this sexually transmitted disease. No. For example, it was to do with poor sanitation, poor living conditions, extremely poor diet, where they very rarely had any fresh fruit, vegetables, or meats. It was mainly things like molasses, and they had like poor food.
Corn cobs.
Corn cobs. Poor food, and then also being in contact with pesticides, lots of pesticides and other herbicides as well, that were in regular contact with them, and just being basically in an extremely toxic environment.
Yes.
That's what's led to these issues. Now, if we come on then we'll stick with the STDs for people out there, because this can be something that I think people are going to find hard to wrap their head around if they haven't come to it. To begin with, I mean, our audience are intelligent bunch and they probably understand this, but someone might be saying, well, how comes then when I was absolutely fine before, I then went and had sex with someone and I then got an issue like chlamydia or herpes or genital warts? How is that possible if it's not?
Yeah, I mean, we do get this question an awful lot, don't we?
We do. I wonder why.
I don't know if you saw it. Do you know who Tom Barnett is?
Yes.
Tom Brady. Yeah. One of his second video, brilliant. I love Tom. He's like, he's like, and it seems that a lot of people have got herpes. And he's like, not me. I haven't got herpes. It's quite funny because it's interesting to see how they break it down. But yeah, go ahead, guys. Go run with it. Go with this one.
Okay. Well, I think one of the interesting things people ought to bear in mind, and this is clinically provable and it's in the medical records, that people who have never had sex, and this is sort of confirmed bachelors, spinsters, and children who've never had sex but exhibit the symptoms of sexually transmitted disease, herpes with the blisters and things like that. So that's a first and very important fact because, particularly with children, young children we're talking about, who've obviously never had sex, but they're coming up with supposed herpes symptoms. So that would tell you, well, it can't obviously be a sexually transmitted disease. And that's an important point for people to bear in mind. Now, the second point people need to bear in mind is that, the whole of our 10 years research showed that there is no proof that any either virus or bacteria causes any disease at all. And there is no science to prove that. Okay, so then you've got to say, well, okay, so there's no scientific evidence for any disease, and that's including any supposed sexually transmitted disease. There's no science that proves that a bacteria or a virus is at the base of it. So you said, okay, but people are getting blisters and sores or whatever. So what's the cause of it? And so we're back to really what we're looking at with, as we mentioned about syphilis. The body is expelling some toxin. Now, it could be a toxin that they've accumulated over a particular period of time, or it could be something that they came into. It could be something they came into during the act of sex, and I'm not talking about a bacteria or something. I mean, the man may be using a condom. Now, condoms are made of latex, which is actually an irritant. And they're always covered, they have a spermicide on them, which is another irritant. The female may be using some sort of contraceptive thing as well, which could be an irritant. So there could be the things that they're using may be causing an irritant in the genital area for both of them, either or both of them. So there can be a number of factors as to what is causing this outbreak. But the one thing we do know for certain is it's not a bacteria and it's not a virus. So it's always something else. I mean, another thing that we found with, as well as all the other toxins that people can come into contact with that then come out through the skin, one of the things that people are less aware of is their amalgam fillings. Now, amalgam fillings are full of toxic metals, not least of which is mercury and silver and zinc, so there's several metals in there. Now, they're very toxic and they're being slowly released into your body all the time. So as a toxic buildup comes just from your amalgam fillings, that toxin has got to come out somewhere. So that again could be the cause of sort of infrequent outbreaks of blisters.
Mm-hmm. And they could be around the mouth, obviously, and then the whole idea is that, those symptoms are herpes. But this is another problem, of course, that people are fixed with these labels. So you say, because you've got a blister or cold, used to call them cold sores, so now it's called herpes. But if it's supposed to be herpes, it's supposed to be caused by a virus, and neither of those are established facts. So it's just an eruption of something around the mouth, which, as David said, could very easily be the result of, something coming through from the fillings. If you've got amalgam fillings or other dental work that can also introduce various unnatural substances into the mouth. So, it's nothing necessarily to do with, the sexual act at all.
But because the medical establishment doesn't understand the human body, they put great store by the fact of wherever these sores and blisters, rashes appear on the body. Yeah. And that's the mistake. The body has it will choose the easiest place for it to get rid of a toxin. Okay. And it has various methods. And just because the toxin comes out through somewhere around the genitals, or even the buttocks, doesn't mean it's anything to do with sex. In fact, it definitely isn't anything to do with sex. It's just that's where it comes out. And once people understand that, and the very first point that I made is people who've never had sex can have and do have these symptoms, then they've got to realise it's nothing to do with a sexual act.
Yeah. Well, when they can just put names to different illnesses, or they say different skin eruption in different places, this means they can produce more drugs and put it down. Whereas, like you said before about amalgam fillings, or just bad breath, right? Because if you've got, as a man, we've got 4 ways of expelling toxins, like 4 major ways, which is breath, sweat, urine, and stool. Women have got the menstrual cycle as well, probably why they live a bit longer than us, because they've got a whole every month they've got a way of expelling toxins. And so you're breathing, and it keeps them coming out your mouth. That's what can cause cold sores or whatever you call them, like eruptions, etc. Also, the groin area, lots of sweat comes out there. You're sweating in that area, around genitals, etc.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say, yes, it's an area
that's an important point.
Yes, I mean, the sort of sweat comes out, because without going into detail, I mean, sort of, sexual acts may involve
of course,
some warmth, some bit of heat.
But even just during the day, and that's the importance of, tight underwear and tight trousers, holds the heat in, so the genital area sweats more, and so yes, toxins will then come out through those areas.
I know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in various products people use to actually, sort of personal care products in those, thinking that they're keeping themselves clean, and they've got all sorts of fragrances, chemicals, whatever in there. So again, they could be overloading that area that they think they're keeping clean.
Also, lube and things they might use in sexual,
yes,
and that's like highly toxic, chemical based, laden with chemicals. And I know this from when I was ill. I used to get humongous cysts all over the lower back, right at the ridge of my bum, extremely painful, and groin area. Because that's what the body will do. If you're not getting rid of the toxins through the actual pathways, then it will start to push them out through the skin, and they are extremely, extremely painful. But I wasn't because I've been in contact with someone on my groin area or that particular area. It was just that's how their body was getting rid of stuff.
Yes.
And so it's interesting you say just because people will say, well, I was fine before I had sex and I had sex. It's like, well, there are different issues that could have occurred during that sexual even sexual meeting, whatever you want to call it, for that to happen. So there's more to it. And the fact that you said that no research has shown this, and people that haven't had sex still get these issues, that's a massive one for people to really realise.
Yeah. Sorry, there's also another point which often gets overlooked, and which we talk about, and that's the nocebo effect.
Yeah.
Sometimes with the sexual act, depending on, without going into details, there can be a certain amount of guilt attached to it. It can either be from religious beliefs or extramarital
or upbringing, all sorts of things,
and the thought processes, particularly guilt and the emotional, can have an effect on the body, does have an effect, and can also, particularly within a sexual act, if the guilt is surrounding that, can be a self-induced punishment, if you like. And I know that may sound a bit far-fetched, but this truly happens. And I did, although it wasn't a sexual act, but I did relate a short story which that was on one of the TEDx interviews, and I think the lady was a microbiologist, and she was relating a story of a pilot who flew short commercial flights, and he was coming out in supposedly herpes blisters on his forehead. Now, people may sort of want to wonder what was going off there, but it was found out, it was obviously nothing to do with the sexual act, but these were supposedly herpes blisters. But what it was, they only came out when he overflew a particular canyon, okay? And when it was examined to find out what it was, I'm cutting a long story short here, it was found out that this particular canyon was somewhere where one of his best friends crashed in a plane and was killed. And it just so happened that he was supposed to be taking that flight on that day. So he had a big guilt thing that his friend died in his place. And once he bottomed this out and realized that that's what was causing this eruption of supposedly herpes blisters on his forehead, then the whole thing cleared up and he never suffered again.
Well, I mean, that even goes, I mean, that, yeah, the mind nocebo effect's powerful. I've gone into this many times on the podcast. The placebo, the nocebo, extremely powerful. Yes. Another thing as well is if you're sleeping with someone that maybe you think is even unclean, you could probably like do that to yourself, thinking like, oh, I might have caught something, and then it, manifest it yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I might have caught something. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing just how powerful these kind of ideas and thoughts can be. People might not be aware of them, if you like, sort of consciously, but maybe these things play around in their subconscious. And yeah, there's all sorts of things, but it's not to be dismissed. And I think that's maybe why the whole sort of sexual thing comes up, that people question it because they have these encounters and they think that whatever it is that happens afterwards is because they had sex. And so there's definitely something to look into. And I think there's an awful lot of belief systems and religions and various people that sort of brought up to think that it's not a good act. It's I don't know, whatever it is, it's bad, it's sinful, whatever it is. And so there's an inbuilt problem within people that they may not be aware of.
So I think it's like 75 to 80% of sexual disease or sexual stress around that are Christian or Catholic people of that religion, because they've been taught to basically it's almost like sex is sacred, it shouldn't be used for fun or pleasure. And so I remember Paul Chek, I don't know if you know Paul Chek, is one of my sort of holistic godfather. He's got the Chek Institute, one of my mentors for years, and he goes into it. He studied religion on the way, because when you're hearing a Hindu compared to when you're hearing a Christian or Catholic, it's very, very different, right? So talking about sexual suppression and doing things, not finding someone attractive or keeping that sexual urge back and finding it sinful, these things, they have definitely created a lot of sexual issues, disease, etc. in those people, which it was quite interesting. And the Catholic and Christian religions, they're the worst. They're most oppressive. Even though these people are sitting there, they go to church claiming that they're holier than thou, and behind everyone's back they're having affairs, or you've got these people in the church that are doing these things to little children. And so the Vatican, the most inverted place, I think, in the world when it comes to that. So people haven't looked into the Vatican, you could go and do some research. But yeah, it's an interesting one of the ones, because this is the other, right, so we get into this is another one. So people, when you talk about these sort of diseases, syphilis, measles, sexually transmitted diseases, smallpox always comes up, right? Especially how it wiped out indigenous tribes, right?
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, is your favourite one. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, explain that then, because you get this on. I mean, you deal with people that I've put posts up all the time, which are controversial in the mainstream, and like, well, the smallpox vaccine saved this many lives, and the measles vaccine saved this many lives, and what about the smallpox it wiped out? They used it to wipe out the indigenous man. Like, so, what would be your answer to that, guys?
Okay, well, it's a big question, but we'll try and be brief, because we have written about it, and there's been we draw a lot of our information from some very well-known historians who've written copious books on it. But let's do the conquistador things, with the conquistadors sort of going over to South America, and mainstream history will say that the diseases they carried with them, that the local tribes, and we're talking about millions of people here, not just a few bunch of people living in the jungle. These were millions of people living in South America and the islands long before it was supposedly discovered by Europe. So the conquistadors, the short story is the conquistadors went over there supposedly with lots of diseases, and the people over there had no immunity to them. They'd never had any of these diseases, smallpox, nothing existed in the whole of the Americas. And so they had no immunity and were then wiped out by smallpox in particular.
Yep.
Yes, I mean, that's the point, that there were a number of other diseases they were supposed to have taken with them, but smallpox is the main one.
They get told, pretty sure it's smallpox, they talk about how they hid it in the bed sheets or something like that and gave it to them. So it was like,
there's a blanket story, but that's
the North American.
That's North American. That's for them. That's
that's
Americans.
Something slightly different.
Okay.
And equally untrue.
Of course. I mean, it's like white man came and just gave them bed sheets with measles on it. I thought, not measles,
smallpox.
Smallpox, wasn't it? Yeah. And so, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, just to put that one to bed, literally, the North American one, I'll just say, I mean, we looked at that and we looked for if there was any actual evidence, historical evidence to support that, or whether it was just an urban myth. And there is no actual historical evidence to say that happened, that smallpox infested blankets were given to the Indians, North American Indians, in order to wipe them out. There's no historical evidence for that. And basically, we know that that's an impossibility anyway from a scientific point of view, because there's no virus that you could have on blankets that you can then transmit to people. It just doesn't work, even if they tried to do that. But so we'll put that one to bed. It never happened. Okay. But for South America, when the conquistadors invaded, as we said, they were supposed to have infected, accidentally, of course, all of the people of South America, and the vast majority of them died.
Just like how people accidentally transmitting COVID, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Exactly,
Go ahead.
exactly. Yeah. But again, there's no evidence, that that is true at all. One is, as we've already said, there are no diseases that can be transmitted. There's no such thing as a contagious or infectious disease. So what we found by studying the history from historians who've looked at it is the people that were dying and did die were for vastly other reasons, not least of which was the conquistadors massacred many of them. What they found, and there's good records from a Jesuit priest who went in there with the conquistadors, and his records show, and he's not the only one, that the conquistadors treated the people brutally. I mean, not only did they massacre them, because the people were peaceful, and in fact the priest remarked at how clean and how the great standards of hygiene that these people had, and the way they lived, and the food and the friendliness and all the rest of it, much more so than the conquistadors, who had come from, at the time, Spain and most of Europe, including England, lived, most people lived in quite filthy, unsanitary conditions.
Yeah.
Unlike what the South American people were living. So they were very healthy people. But, and as regards immunity to things, it's very hard to believe that there was no such thing as diseases ever in the Americas before the conquistadors arrived. So that's one thing. But nothing could be transmittable. Now, people have argued that, as I say, that because the local people had no immunity, that's what killed them off. But you've got to look at several things. One is, as I say, diseases can't be transmitted that way. There's no such thing. And two is, logically, even if the conquistadors had the diseases themselves to be able to carry them across the ocean, then why weren't they becoming ill with them themselves? It's a long voyage across in those days.
Because they built up immunity to them.
Well, that's the next argument.
Because if they had immunity, then they couldn't be housing the germ. Their body couldn't house the germ. You can't have it both ways. So if they're immune, that means the so-called immune system, and again, we don't call it the immune system, but that would have killed off the germ. So they couldn't be carrying germs if they were immune. Again, they're trapped by logic.
Hoisted by their own petard, really, with that argument. They're either got the disease and are falling ill and dying on the ships, which they weren't, or they're immune, which means any bacteria or viruses would have been killed by their own immune system, in which case they've got nothing to transfer to the natives when they got there. So there's a hole in the story right from the beginning. But then when you look at the actual historical facts of what went off, the conquistadors went there for one reason, and that was for wealth, to take back, not only for themselves, but for
to take land, right? It's why South America is Christian and Catholic, because because they just took their religions and just massacred them. No?
And speak Spanish, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Mexico recently. Remember, I said she asked me how I got on a plane. I just booked one and got on a plane. Like literally, but it's because I don't listen to a word these fuckers say. So you go and do it yourself. But when I was out there, I had some history behind it, and I was learning more about it. And I was thinking, I'm really interested in it because this story come up, and I was thinking, it makes sense why. Because I thought that South America was Catholic just through years gone by. I didn't realise that they obviously it makes sense. I was like, of course, they have all the tribes and states, etc. That's what they have their own religions. Mm-hmm. But it come about because of this.
Yes, but they were after not just land, they were after resources, particularly gold, but silver as well. And as well as actually divesting the native people of their sort of gold ornaments or any gold they had, they established gold mining and got the local people to be their sort of slaves in the mine, as it were. I mean, technically not quite slaves, but near enough. Now, gold mining is pretty harmful because you're exposed to mercury, cinnabar, as it was, would have been the ore, but not just being exposed to the fairly nasty conditions in the mine as well as the toxins. They weren't looked after, they weren't fed, and they were treated as just, work as hard as you can, and when you die, just there's more behind in the queue. We can get somebody else to come in and carry on. So they were dying in the mines. They were also dying on plantations. They were being worked effectively like slaves.
Worked to death. I mean, the life expectancy of the people once the conquistadors was there was 3 months. 3 months. Because they weren't.
That's worse than the gulags.
Yeah.
Yes. Some survived the gulags. Yes.
Yeah. And as I say, it was their policy. It was their policy not to feed them because, as Dawn said, there were more people, so they didn't feed them. They just died, and they got someone else. And the conditions were so bad that even the local inhabitants started committing suicide rather than be captured by these barbarians and live a very short and painful life. I mean, these conquistadors even had what they called these hunter dogs, which they would, and they were armored. It was almost like something out of a science fiction movie. And these dogs were trained to track down and rip people apart. And that's what they would do. I mean, it's horrendous when you look at the true history of what went off. And over a period of about 30 years, they killed, one way or another, 8 million people.
But no one talks about that.
No one talks about that, and that's why they'd rather have the sanitized story of just people accidentally catching diseases and dying.
Because it's so much easier to blame a virus. Rather
than talk about the true history. But fortunately, some historians, and Dr. David Stannard, I recommend that people have a look at his book where he talks about it. I mean, it's unfortunate that he still thinks that viruses do exist, but at least he covers the history of the atrocities and mass murders that went off in the Americas by the invading conquistadors. So it's quite sickening. It's hard reading.
I can imagine.
But that's what people were dying from. And of course, because they were driven off their land where they had, their plantations, because they were able to feed themselves and had done for thousands of years, but they were driven off their land by these people. And so now they were starving to death, even though they were out in the wilds, as it were, they were starving to death. They hadn't got any proper food. So, as I say, they eventually, and take it to the period of about 50 years, all of the islands around there and the mainland, all of the native population were wiped out. But it was nothing to do with disease. It was to do with the barbarity of the invaders who wanted the land. They wanted the gold and silver and the natural resources, and that's what it was all about.
So this is the thing as well, guys. I think people seem to forget. They seem to think that we're in this period of time where history is like this mythical make-believe stuff that can't happen again, right? Or it hasn't happened again. So when people hear things like that, it's like right now, this is World War III. People think it's going to be over in a year. I say, look, World War II was 1939 to 1945. They've got this plan to go out longer if we don't say no. And what's going on now as well is like people will look back on this in years to come, and there'll be the official story, which will either be our story if we manage to put them to bed, or it'll be the bullshit story like this. And I always say to people, we're in history, we're making history right now. Whether it depends how long we go on for, because it seems like we won't be long before we're wiped off, because all history, every civilization that goes through the same cycle that we're going through, we're at that cycle right now where it doesn't look too good for us. Like fiction becomes more powerful than truth, and then when that happens, it starts to all the things that we're going through now, all these like nonsense political garbage things that we're going through. Basically, people like getting rid of the truth and going on fiction. And so I say to people, you don't realise what's going on. They think that only in the past could like governments do these things and take over and go and basically try. And right now we're going through something like that, and it's time for people to wake the fuck up and realise what's going on. This is why I say, excuse my profanity, I use it often.
It's very
but it's just but it's just, I say to people like, go and read a history book. These things, and this is what they've done, and then they sold the lie of it being a virus. And same with what happened now. They're taking the middle class out. They're basically just ripping the heart out of people financially, and they're saying it because of virus, and the freedoms have gone. All these things that they will do to mandate their technocracy that they want, technocracy, what do we call it? Technocracy, that's the word. Technocracy. That's what they're doing, and people just can't see it. And so when you look at these stories, and actually, this is why they said before that that doesn't get mentioned about them getting massacred. It's like after World War II, no one talks about us massacring about 10 million Germans. No one talks about that.
No.
because they were bad. I'm sure they weren't good. Okay, but like there's a lot going on that we need to talk about the Holocaust, which we maybe get into another time. But the numbers that the Red Cross put out there compared to what actually gets reported,
it's a very different story.
Very different
story.
Yes. Is it Lurcher report? Goes into like the actual. Anyway, got to be careful what you say because you get banged up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you say, it's a question of
the
story is the history is written by the victors. But the difference with now back to from then is that we do have this opportunity of communicating with people around the world, and we do have a window of opportunity right now to get this message out to as many people as possible that there isn't a virus.
Well, this is why they're trying so hard to shut down any story that goes against the narrative as fake news, misinformation, dangerous. Because beforehand we didn't have that. So one thing that they had to put this all in place because they wanted their social world of like good people that adhere to their stuff, so they can do face recognition and everything else they want. But that meant that we can get information out to a lot of people. And that was growing and growing and growing. That's what they're trying to do. Right? Wipe people off, and then basically book burning. Burning for a better word. Because this is what's going on. But no, I just think it's important just to interject that for people, just to see like if you start looking at these stories in history of what was said and then what really happened. Yeah. Then people start to think, oh, actually, because I said to people, do you think the government are going to tell you what they're doing? No, they're going to do it behind another story, like World War I or World War II. Like the story you get told, and because people, my granddad died. It's like my granddad's were in the war. It's like when people go through this, it's like all the good people on the front line. It's like I'm not saying the people in the war didn't have good intentions and didn't have big hearts. Yes. I'm saying they were manipulated by people above to just go over the top. When you're 17 years old, 18, run over the top and get massacred by automatic weapons, or World War II. Like going to war against people you don't even know these people. They got the other side. They're bad and we're good, or whatever it goes on. Just culling of the population.
Yeah, but there is that famous story of the Christmas football match. That just shows that the real people, shall we say, have a slightly different view. But it is the whole divide and conquer. different groups of people to be made to feel different from other groups of people, so that they'll have antagonism, so they'll argue, and it's the whole sort of well, I'm right.
Patriotism as well, right? Patriotism.
Oh,
so
yes.
like I grew up with, like, my family big into like for family and stuff, and when you're into it, it gives you some sort of something to belong to, right? And so it's really hard to realize the lies you've been sold if you haven't got an open mind, to actually it's really hard. So I was a doctor, been learned something for 7 years at medical school, then probably worked for however many years, to then be told everything you've been told is a lie, especially if you're a good person, you're trying to do good.
Yes.
It's hard to break down that shatter that story they've been told and they bought into. And so this is why I say to people, I just wanted to get that out to people, is that start looking at things and thinking, what, as you said before there, Dawn, history gets written by the winners. It's his story. And when people start to understand words, understand, stand under. When you're understand would be the actual word you want to use. So when you actually get to these points, it's really, it just starts to make people realize, what else isn't true? And this is why I get you guys. We're going to have a couple more times to get you back on, because I think you'll get some really interesting conversations. The one I just wanted to touch on to, while I've got you here as well, is the antibodies and immunity. Have you got time?
Yeah, we can do that. I don't know. I think we're doing okay. Yeah, we will talk about antibodies, because it's quite an important one, and it's a big fallacy again. Of the medical establishment, something else they don't understand, and even their own story, they manipulate it to suit their own purposes and contradict themselves. But
all the time,
and we can give a couple of examples of that. But this whole thing about antibodies is a complete myth, and again, it doesn't have any scientific basis to it. And cutting a very long story short, they believe that through the use of vaccinations, that they can inject something into your body which will induce the body to produce these things that they call antibodies, which will then circulate around in the body for months, years even, until it comes into contact with an invading virus or bacteria, and then it will recognize it, and all of these antibodies will swoop down on this invading organism and kill it, and then you'll be okay. I mean, I'm giving a simplified view there, but that's basically what they believe. And I can say, we've investigated this. There is no scientific evidence to back that up. It's just a fallacy. The whole vaccination thing, being able to confer immunity through the production of antibodies, has never been proven scientifically. It's a complete myth. Okay, so that's the first thing.
Okay.
But what does happen, and probably when you injure yourself, or if your body is invaded by toxic chemicals, what the body does produce is something called globulins. Okay, and these are globulins.
Immunoglobulins.
Well, we don't call them immunoglobulins, globulins, because that's still,
playing into their myth.
Yes,
okay. It's still buying into kind of an immune system type idea. So, we just call them globulins.
Which are small protein particles, and their job is to go to the site of injury, which may be just cells, because cells get damaged by toxins, chemical toxins, or whatever it is that's attacking it. And these are repair mechanisms, or if you cut your finger or something like that, and you need to, the wound needs to stitch together. Well, the body will release globulins. They're sort of like sealant agents, if you think of them like that, to help seal the cut, or if the cell is broken or is damaged, to seal it. That's what globulins do. But they're then misnamed by the medical establishment as antibodies. But that's just a misnomer. They're not antibodies, they're globulins, and they're there to repair, part of the repair mechanism of the body when it's under attack from toxins.
There's a sort of a similarity with inflammation. Again, that's regarded as a disease process. Again, like we said in the title of the book, everything you thought you knew about disease is wrong. It is completely the opposite. Inflammation is not a disease causing process. It's a protective mechanism. I mean, it's recognized to a certain extent by the medical establishment. But again, if there's an injury or a cut, or you get a splinter, you get more blood goes to the area and provides repair materials. So
inflammation comes, rather than it being, it's not you're inflamed and that causes illness. It's you've got an issue, and then information comes to try and cure the
yes.
Even for example, even if you got an injury to a knee, it's inflammation. It gets swelling around it.
But part of that is to hopefully encourage the person to rest and let it heal itself.
To
releases things like insulin growth factor. It also releases IGF-1, I think, insulin-like growth factor, which is another healing mechanism.
Well, that again is another supposed kind of immuno. So that's part of the sort of globulin. It's the repair mechanism. Again, these are different labels, and they're claim to be part of the immune system, but it's just part of the body's health system, protective repair system.
I think it's just worth mentioning, because as time's going on, is to just to give an example of how the medical establishment don't understand these things that they've given the name of antibodies to. And a glaring example of it is, and they do it with tests now, and they did it with HIV, is most of the time, if they take a blood sample and measure the amount of what they're calling antibodies, they'll say, if you've got lots of antibodies, that means you're immune. You have immunity. Okay. And that's what they do most of the time. But then they choose some diseases, and HIV was one of them. And when they took a blood sample then and measured the amount of antibodies, they said, if you've got lots of antibodies, that means you've got the disease. Straight away. And they do that with quite a few diseases. And you think, well, you can't have it both ways. Either antibodies means you're immune, or antibodies means you've got the disease. But they want it both ways, which just makes a complete nonsense and shows just how little they know about what the body's doing and what these things are that they've called antibodies, but are in actual fact globulins, which are there to do their repair jobs, So it's... we try and explain all these things in our book, and that's why it's nearly 800 pages, because we try to lay out in easily understandable terms. And I'm not meaning that we dumbed it down, but like anyone else, we didn't want to put a load of jargon in there so people don't know what the hell we're talking about. So we've tried to explain all these things in ways that people can understand, so they can see the contradictions in what the medical establishment say, and the fact that there is no science to back up what they do say. And then we explain what the real causes of disease are, which is far more simple.
But I want to. I think I've been pushing your book to a lot of people, because I think if people read it, it's gonna just clear up a lot for a lot of people, understand it. And I'll even have a chat to you guys and try and maybe get it on my website, so I can have a link to it so people can get it on there. But the thing, what I just want to quickly ask you there, when it comes to, you said not having immune system, but what you mean is the body's repair system. It's how the body repairs, rather than the immune system. So if something like parasites, guys, parasites, how would the body deal? Because people say some parasites can hide from the immune system, or there's certain ways we live in conjunction with parasites, protozoa, etc. But if you had something like a hookworm or something like that inside, what would happen there? Would there be globulins again?
No, the body has another system, and for parasites, and it releases nitric oxide. The body is fantastic. It can handle anything, provided you've treated it right and fed it right. It's got all the mechanisms to deal with anything. So if you did get into the situation where a parasite entered the body, then that's what the body would do. It would release nitric oxide, which would kill it. It would kill the parasites outright, and then they'd be expelled from the body in the normal ways that it excretes things. Right. So that's its particular mechanism.
So most people with parasites, the body doesn't do that because they're too toxic and sick. Yeah. Whereas if they're healthy in terms of environment, terrain, etc., not toxic, then their body would deal with things.
Yes, correct.
But again, it's the word parasite has lots of different meanings. It's claimed that malaria is caused by a parasite, but that's a different sort of parasite. That's obviously not what you're talking about.
No.
It's quite clear from some of the people we cite in our book, like Herbert Shelton, who was a proponent of natural hygiene, said that a healthy body doesn't homestead any parasites, any of these worm type parasites. So it's quite clear that that's That's what's important.
No, yeah, they live in dysfunction. I mean, the fact that 90 to 95% of the world population is like a fungal or parasitic infection just shows how far away from health we are in general, you know. And so, yeah, these things, as you mentioned, I mean, funguses, etc. They want to find a place that they can live, which works for them, you know. And so the more toxic and internally imbalanced you are, etc., that's where they want to be. And the healthier you are, they disappear because they don't want to be there. They can't live, as you said, in a healthy environment.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, fungi are not a parasite in the same way as like the sort of worms or whatever. I mean, they are part of, you know, the body's cleanup crew. So if, you know, they do develop on a particularly toxic environment, so they will help to break it down, as they do out in the forest. You know, they help to break down sort of tree trunks and stuff and whatever. That's, you know, they have a similar function to bacteria. You know, they're helping clean up. So, you know, if they're there, that means there's a toxic, as you say, quite rightly, there's a toxic environment, and they're there to help out.
And the last thing you want to do is take something that kills them, you know, kills them off, because then they can't do the job.
100%,
and you just make the whole thing worse.
Well, and you're adding toxins to your body, so it just exacerbates the whole problem, and, you know, doesn't help you. Certainly doesn't help you get healthy.
I see it all the time with Candida. People are like, I've got a Candida issue. I want to take some like antifungal, anti-Candida medicines or whatever, and I'm like, the Candida's there for a reason. Like, probably because you've got heavy metal poisoning, and so you kill off the Candida, you get a big flush of heavy metals in the system, and it can lead to big issues. Like, so fungus is different. I was talking more about worm-like parasites when I talked about parasites. Probably should have been more.
The body has a mechanism to handle it, providing the body is healthy. It can handle, if a parasite does happen to get in there, it can handle it, and it can kill it with its release of nitric oxide. That's what it does.
Cool. Awesome, guys. So, yeah, we covered quite a lot there, and I think people are going to get a lot from it. Syphilis, antibodies, real immunity. The one we didn't get into, but we can maybe listen to next time because I know you've got to go, is why modern medicine can't cure the common cold. But probably
we can cover it briefly. We can cover it briefly because it's quite an easy one to cover, because it's one that's misunderstood, the same as influenza, flu. You know, so people either say I've got a cold or I've got the flu. Let's make it quite clear that neither a cold or the flu is caused by a virus. You know, I mean, and strangely, they reckon that the coronavirus is actually one of the viruses that causes the common cold. Okay, but now, of course, it's not just a common cold. You've now got COVID-19, and, you know, it's going to kill you. That's absolute nonsense. But anyway, the common cold or influenza is those symptoms are not caused by any germ. They're the body's detox mechanism. You know, if there's been a buildup of toxins in your body, which it's not been able to eliminate through all of the other methods that we've said, sweating, vomiting, diarrhea, if it's not been able to get rid of them, or through the skin, then I've lost my thread now, then it can come out as congestion, because if the body can't use its normal mechanisms, it will employ the mucous membranes. And so that's why you get, you know, coughing, the production of phlegm, runny nose, congestion generally. That's because it's employing the mucous membranes to try and suck out the toxins and then expel it through mucus, basically. I know it all sounds revolting, but that's the body doing its job properly. So if you always maintain a healthy body, you'd never have another cold, and certainly not influenza. Because that's all they are. It's a sign that your body is trying to get rid of something toxic, which it hasn't been able to get rid of through the normal methods. So, Dawn and I, we're not paragons of virtue, but we do live healthy lives and have a healthy diet, and we've not had anything called a cold for years and years. We just don't.
So that's why they can't cure it, because it's not a disease, in simple terms, because there is no disease that you catch. You don't catch a cold, you don't catch the flu, because they're not disease entities. They are symptoms that are built up within the body, within depending
body's
on
purging process.
Yes, it's a purging process.
Simple.
And therefore you can't transmit that, you can't transmit your body's sort of, cleaning up processes to somebody else. But also you can't cure it by the use of any kind of pharmaceutical, because they're always toxic. So you're only going to add to the problem. So it wouldn't cure it. Couldn't cure it. So the only cure is to allow the process to actually sort of work through and take
Purge
rest,
yourself,
take rest, take plenty of fluids, let the body actually heal itself. The most important thing is not to take anything to suppress those symptoms, because you are working against the body.
100%. No, I'm fully with you there, and I said,
we thought you would be.
A simple thing for people to bear in mind is that only the body can heal itself, and you can either help it or hinder it, and that's a nice simple way to think of it.
Yeah. I always say to people, you don't see any of these modern issues in nature. You don't see a rattlesnake with PCOS, or an alligator with COVID-19. This is all just so these are all just things that we're modern lifestyle and the nonsense we're told. One of the things you just mentioned there, Dawn, just before you go, you said you can't transmit a cold to someone else. Have you ever looked into signal transduction?
Not sure what that is.
No, not.
So for example, how women's bodies sync up.
Oh yes.
So like your aura. So I say to people, it can sometimes that, because if your body's speaking to mine, you're going through detoxification process. My body goes, oh, actually, we could maybe do with one of those. That gives the illusion of something being contagious. But I say to people, if 20 people in the office get a cold, not all 20 get it. Maybe 6, maybe 12 get it. But generally because it's winter, they're not having enough vitamin D, they're not eating well, and all this. Well, Christmas comes, it's just like sugar and alcohol season. People wonder why they get sick. No sun. But signal transduction talks about how the body does talk. They do talk to each other, and so if me, you, and David were in a room together, and you were going through a purging process, and my body was like, oh, actually, we've got a little bit of that in us. Maybe we'll go through one. That was the other way the research I've done. It talks about how that can help, because it can for example, if we were in a tribe, it will get us all healthy at the same time, clear at the same time. Does that make sense? Rather than it being contagious.
Yes, but also there's an element of the sort of placebo-nocebo effect, that people are so fixed by these things being called colds that if you sneeze, then I'm going to sneeze, and I've heard people say, oh well, don't come near me, because I've got the lurgy or whatever, and you'll get it. No, I won't. I know now, but so many people absolutely believe that they can catch a cold if somebody else sneezes. I mean, like we say, you don't. But because they absolutely believe it, then the next day they can sneeze and think and have the symptoms. So there is a possibility that element may apply to some people some of the time.
Yeah.
So there's always different factors. But again,
100%. Yeah.
The kind of what you could, I mean, there are different labels for what you've said. The signal transduction, it's an interesting concept, and there are connections between everyone at sort of other levels of consciousness.
Most definitely.
And so there could be those kind of
plugs and sockets as well, right? Because some people, you see in people, if you're the healthiest person in the room, you can leave that room feeling drained because everyone's taken your chi, your energy, your life force, because it's what happens. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But on a different sort of scale. It's a different sort of. It's not like a contagious thing. It's a aura thing. It's an energy thing, and this is why it's and some people are plugs, some people are sockets, right, as well. So just being around them. So this is a whole different esoteric sort of level.
Yes.
Which people need to look into as well.
Maybe in another chat we will have to talk about our Nature of Reality book, as we go into more of that.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, we definitely will. Yeah, no, I just thought I would just mention that just because I think it was just an interesting thing when it comes to like women and their periods syncing up is the best example I can use for people to explain it very simply, because that happens. It's like, well, the strongest woman, everyone else comes up to their menstrual cycle. So it's an interesting one. But I think we covered quite a lot here today, guys, which has been great, and just put to bed a lot of the myths. So yeah, we'll get this out, and I'll get you guys back on. I'll have to get your book, The Nature of Reality, and have a read of that.
Remember, it's under our pen name because it was the first book we wrote. So it's under our pen name of NOR, which stands for Nature Reality. Right. You can get it on Amazon.
Is it on, on the website?
Not on the website.
No, because it's we wrote that one quite a number of years ago, but it's still on Amazon. You can get it as a book or as a Kindle. It's only a little book, but it does lay it all out, and I think you'll find it particularly interesting.
Oh, awesome. Cheers, guys. Yeah, awesome. Anything else you want to add to that our chat today?
No, as you say, I think we've covered quite a few things. Lots more we can talk about, but it's probably best left for another show.
Yeah, we will do. Awesome, guys. And for people out there, head on over to www.whatreallymakesusill.com, and you can find the information as well as the book. And yeah, guys, real pleasure speaking to you, and looking forward to another chat and getting you back on soon.
Sorry, okay. Can I just say whatreallymakesyouill.com?
What really makes? Have I got that wrong?
You
really makes you ill.
What really makes you ill?
No, it's okay. Makes us. You can see that?
Yeah, got you. What really makes? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, cool. What really makes you ill.com. Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Bye for now.
So, guys and girls, that was Dawn Lester and David Parker with some absolutely mind-blowing information, which, if you've been in this world for a long time, you know this, but it's great to have it reiterated and coming from legitimate sources and talking about going deep into the history. They don't want you to know, because when you look at it, remember, big pharma, big business, keeping you ill, selling medications. They got drugs set out for you from cradle to grave, and their whole premise is based on germ theory. It's where they sell and viruses. They sell how many drugs for antivirals and vaccines and all the other medication they sell. They don't want you to be well. Their drug sales, when they go up, that's when they celebrate, not when they go down. And so when you look into this and you look at the actual research and you dig into it and find out what's been going on in the world and what causes disease and what causes illness in the body, it's a real game changer, because it's hugely liberating, because it gets you to understand the power is in your own hands. You are in control of your health. And hopefully from the information I share here and everyone else who's in the natural health world, you can take on board all the things we tell you to do, from the food, clean water, not using chemical-free skincare, making sure you're getting exercise, sunlight, breath work, rest, introspection, but also taking on the new technologies that we're talking about in terms of mitigating 5G and Wi-Fi and EMF frequencies, etc. All the things you can do, but you are in control of your own health. And so it's a hugely liberating thing when you learn this, and it's no coincidence that the people you follow and listen to don't get ill. We've all been there before. We've scratched our own itch. I was very ill myself for 5 years. The medical industry almost destroyed me. It's why I do what I do now. And it's allowed me to go on this learning journey for the last 12 years. And now always learning, always developing, always growing. But it's allowed me to help people for the last 12 years overcome all manner of advanced diseases and illnesses, because the truth is, as I always say, you can heal from any disease by doing the opposite of what created it. You just have to give the body the circumstances it wants and needs to heal. And so, if you have been dealing with any health issues and you haven't been able to overcome them, no matter what you've tried, then please don't hesitate to send me an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co. That's ryan@reviveyourself.co. And I'll get in touch with you as soon as possible, and we can have a chat about how we can help you, because our programs are set out, whatever you've got, whether it be a gut issue, a skin issue, endometriosis, ovarian cyst, rheumatoid arthritis, Alzheimer's, cancers, whatever it is, we've got a program that can help your body get into the state it needs to heal. And, our programs are really, really simple and easy to implement. And I'm there to hold your hand and guide you through the whole process, to guide you in, to guide you out, and give you unlimited support. And that's what we pride ourselves on, on giving support that no one else offers. You get access to me, and I'm with you through the whole journey. And so, if you are dealing with a health issue and you haven't been able to overcome it, and you want to live life pain-free and away from frustration, then don't hesitate to send me an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and I'll get to it as soon as possible. Otherwise, guys and girls, keep well, keep doing all the things you can do through lockdown, through these restrictions, to keep your body healthy, happy and vital. As I mentioned before, all the things that you can do in terms of building health and immunity from the food, the exercise, the water, sunlight, time in nature, etc. Do all those things and you'll be on to a winner. Otherwise, as always, people, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.